Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Mr. Reagan post-debate analysis. My initial thoughts are I was kind of bored a little bit.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know how everybody else felt. I caught like the very beginning of the ABC post-debate analysis as I was setting everything up to start this. And of course, everything was Kamala was just fabulous. Wasn't she amazing? And Donald Trump was just awful, wasn't he? Oh, what a beast he was. Yeah, that was like the general. But they started their analysis out by saying, "Wow, what a debate! Fireworks, so dramatic, such a big." Like they were like, "Oh, this is like the greatest debate in history." And I'm thinking, did we watch the same debate? Like I thought that you would have some kind of a moment. Trump would make something happen, or Kamala Harris would try to do something to slam Trump or something like that. There would be something would happen, or maybe Kamala would totally lose it and fall apart. Scott Adams presented this. His perception was on X was that it was a tie. He's the Dilbert comic book guy. He's on X. He's very popular on X. And his analysis is usually pretty sharp. I don't like him just because he's extremely arrogant. But his analysis is usually pretty good because he's not he's not a very strong conservative. He's sort of kind of more in the middle, I would say. And that's what I always wonder about these things. What is the perspective of the Democrat voter? What is the perspective of the moderate voter, somebody in the middle? Are they seeing the same things we're seeing? I think the big headline for this debate was the moderators, right? The moderators really had it in the bag for Kamala Harris. They were fighting tooth and nail against Trump. Trump was really debating three people. And I actually felt that Trump dominated. I mean, I felt like Trump's answers were always sharp, well-reasoned responses. I mean, here's why Trump wins. Because Trump tells the truth. This is the big distinction that I saw. Trump was authentic. Kamala Harris was scripted, right? She was like a really well-rehearsed middle school student, right? So she didn't do terribly. I'm bathed
God
in the
agrees
light
with you.
of God
God
because
agrees
I'm
with you.
correct. Yeah, God agrees with me every time that happens. So the point is, I think that Trump won. That's how I perceived it, but it wasn't exciting enough to be like a slam dunk victory, right? I mean, if you just it was sort of like a TKO. It was sort of like a decision in boxing, a decision as opposed to like a knockout, which was very disappointing for me. I wanted to see a knockout. I wanted to see fireworks. I wanted to see a much more fun, enthusiastic debate. But as I said, I think Trump won on the points, and I think he won on authenticity. You stopped watching because you were so annoyed.
I was like, I can't anymore. I can't watch this. It's just, it was a bit pathetic. So in my view, it's not going to change anything. I think whoever has their person that they're going to vote for, they're going to vote for them. I don't think this is going to change anything.
It wasn't a big, I don't think there was a big moment. The only big one, can I just jump in? Sorry to interrupt your primary analysis. I think that the biggest moment of the debate was they're eating our pets. I like out loud. I was like, yes, I yelled out loud because I thought that was like such a funny moment, right? It was like the one moment that I was just like, and there was another thing that he said. I think Trump said something like when he was I think Trump's biggest moment, his biggest knockout punch, was when Kamala was talking about oh God, what was it? The war between Russia and Ukraine. And Trump was like, they send her in to negotiate, and the war starts 5 days later. And the way he's going at them about the war was fantastic. He's like, everything they said was weak and stupid. I think that's what he said. And I just thought, man, that is great. Because the truth is, most Americans, most Democrats, most independents, they never actually hear Trump talk, really. They never hear the best lines that Trump has. So we're seeing stuff that we've seen a million times because we watch politics. But all of these other folks, they've never heard Trump say these things. So I think that presents all these ideas with a much bigger impact than what we are able to perceive. So I am curious. I want to know what moderates think. I want to know what leftists think, who are a little bit maybe, they're not completely engulfed in TDS. But anyway, I'm sorry, Jason, I interrupted, but I really want to get that thing about they're eating our pets. I just love that.
I think Trump, I don't know. Trump hasn't been the best debater lately, like the way he was when he first ran in 2016. So
Because he doesn't have the funny moments. He doesn't have the knockout punch moments.
Yeah. Like, but I guess that's the tactic they have. Like, just don't go crazy. Just let her talk and let her kind of ruin herself. But as it's funny because it's like what you said. So Trump comes out more real. He doesn't come out like the politician. Kamala stuck to the script. It's like she's talking about change and this and new and that, but it's the same old coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
It's typical politicians, platitude and you, the American people, trying to talk to, like get into people's emotions. The typical politician playbook she went by. I mean, and it just keeps it just shows she's still fake no matter what. The other thing I took out of it, other thing I took out of it was they did what I kind of said they would do. Like I was thinking they would do it in 4 years, but they threw Biden under the bus and they're going with I'm the new, that's not me. I'm the new young, diverse person that's gonna change everything. And it's funny because all of a sudden she's a completely different person than what she was a few months ago. Like
I know
completely different. Like she doesn't. None of her views are the same anymore. Like I mean,
I know
it's
there was
crazy.
another good moment. There was another good moment actually when this is a moment that I had actually recommended. I didn't actually recommend it publicly. I texted Gorka with this because they were having that debate about whether they should leave the mics open. Which, my God, how biased is ABC? Like anytime. Not anytime, but oftentimes when Kamala Harris wanted to say something or she wanted to jump in or something, they would have the mics on for her. They would have the mic on for her, or they would turn it on real quick. But if Trump wanted to even just respond to something in his allotted time after Kamala was done, they would have his mics turned off. So you'd miss like the first 5 or 6 words that he was saying. And one time that was particularly crucial. And I don't think people even understood what he was saying because they had the mic turned off and they just like left it off. Oh, maybe we'll turn it on. Should we listen to what he's saying and then maybe we'll think about turning it on later? I mean, such a-holes, ABC. They're disgusting, ABC. But Trump agreed to it.
I don't know why they keep constantly agreeing to doing this stuff on these channels. Like I'm so over it. Like stop already.
Because the reason is because I think
make the Democrats agree to come on X and do a debate on X. Like, come on, man. Like
now this is why they mic the microphone, so this doesn't happen.
We have freedom here, right? We have freedom here, right, Chris?
We have freedom. That's true. Yeah, freedom and chaos. We love it. But yeah, no, it was. So there was a moment that was really great when she's interrupting Trump, but her mic was muted at the time. And this is something, like I said, I had texted Gorka about this. I said they should leave the mics on, leave them open, so that Trump at some point early in the debate, when Kamala Harris starts to talk over him, he can go, "I am speaking." It would be funny. Like take that away from her.
They know the format that's going to screw up Trump. I think they know that this format kills Trump's momentum. Trump needs to be Trump needs to be in front of an audience. Trump needs to have his mic open. So they know how to handle Trump. Like that's why I don't know why they agreed to this. Just stop agreeing
I swear I'm going to finish this point at some point, guys. I promise you. So anyway, as the story goes,
also,
yeah, very funny. So Trump's doing his thing, talking, and Kamala's trying to interrupt him. Her mic's muted, but she's trying to interrupt him. And he turns to her and he goes, "I am talking." Sound familiar? And I thought, that's great, man. I don't know if that was planned or if I think it might have just been off the cuff. But that's great. I felt great. I felt a little vindicated because I had recommended that he do this, and he did it. I always love to see that happen. But you're 100% right saying that it's better for Trump to have an audience. There were so many moments. There was even a moment when he made Kamala laugh. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the clips of Reagan back in the 80s when he makes his opponent laugh, but a lot of people cite that as the moment when Ronald Reagan won that election. There was a moment where he said, listen, I'm not going to allow my opponent to make age part of the discussion of this election. He's like, I'm not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Yeah.
And everybody just died laughing. His opponent died laughing. And people think that Reagan won that debate in that moment. And you could hear the whole crowd laugh. Trump had a moment like that, but it wasn't the moment it should have been because there was no audience, right? He said, Kamala Harris's policies have shifted so significantly. This is not, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but have shifted so significantly. We were, toward my positions, we've been thinking about sending her a Trump hat. And funnily enough, I've heard Donald Trump say this before, but I don't think Kamala actually has ever heard him say this before. So Kamala Harris starts busting up laughing. You can see her, but her mic's muted, so you can't hear her.
I think that was the best part of the debate.
That was a great little moment because he broke her. She actually laughed at one of his jokes. And he was taking it like a little bit too seriously. So he should have just like said it and like backed off maybe. But if there was a crowd there, I think he would have done that. He would have worked the crowd a little bit better. He should have said,
I'll send you one after the debate.
Send you one after the debate, Kamala. Right. In a little bit more good humor. And I think if there was a crowd, he'd said a little bit more good humor. He'd paused a moment. He would have won the whole debate. He would have won the whole election in that moment. I think he should have won the whole election when he got shot. But
somebody saying Trump lost. Let's be real. I'm a little kind of, people are gonna get mad, but I'm a little kind of agreeing with that because Kamala didn't look bad in this. Like,
right, but that's from.
I thought she would look dumb. I thought she would look dumb, say dumb things. But by the way, I think she had an earpiece. So because sometimes she'd be like,
definitely. I think that ABC and the Kamala Harris campaign definitely collaborated on this debate. I think Kamala Harris's team, like a lot of people on X are saying that Kamala Harris got the questions ahead of time. I think ABC was given the questions from the Kamala team. I think what happened was
I don't doubt it.
ABC and Kamala's team conspired together to develop the questions for this debate, both the questions for Trump and the questions for Kamala Harris. This was not actually Trump against one person. This was not Trump against three people. This was Trump against the whole ABC organization working against.
But still, Chris, you know the problem with Trump lately is that I don't know, he goes off like he goes off on things because he's a type of person I believe that thinks ahead. So he wants to make sure like the point gets through, and then he just goes to other subjects. Like I wish he would have stuck on certain subjects and go against what she is saying. Like because she was she was saying things that were just not true. She was saying things that were lies. She was saying things just to please the voters, and I wish he would have just acknowledged that and
all the hoaxes and everything. Yeah.
Instead, the other thing he said, he kept going on the immigration thing. That's important, but like he was avoiding, like there was missed opportunities. I think lots of missed opportunities that Trump.
No, Trump was not perfect tonight, but here's the problem. We are expecting Trump to be at his best and Kamala to be at her worst. That's what we're hoping for, right? And I think Kamala was at her absolute best. I think this is the best performance Kamala could possibly have given.
Yep.
And I think that Trump was probably decent, like he was competent, but he wasn't at his best. So we're like, he kind of sucked, right? It's like when you go into a movie and everybody tells you it's amazing, you go in and you go, I mean, it's okay. I don't know. I thought it was, if it's like, even if it's like a good movie, but it's not amazing, like everybody said, you're like, that movie kind of sucked, right? I don't know what everybody loves it for. And the opposite is also true. If you go into a movie and everybody says it's terrible, but your girlfriend drags you to it, whatever, and it wasn't actually that bad, like it wasn't a good movie, but it wasn't that bad, you're like, actually, that movie's great. Why does everybody hate that movie? We tend to amplify it based on the context with which we've seen it. That's probably something Kamala Harris would say, but.
Well, I got something. I think
for us, let me just finish this off. I think for us, because of how we follow politics and because of the side we're on and because we're sort of like, I would say like experts in Trump and Kamala just because we watch them all the time, and in the sense that we understand them to some degree better than most Americans. Yeah, we're going to see it like Trump lost and Kamala won because of our perspective. But if you try to be objective about this, no way. Trump cleaned this woman's clock.
Yeah. I just got some advice for Trump. Please don't let your advisors and stuff stop you from the way you are. You know, I feel like that's what happened tonight. Just, man, be Trump, man. You know, that's why I voted for him in the first. That's why I voted for him twice, because he's not like these people, you know, like, I don't know. I felt like he held back a lot.
No.
And I felt like he was going by stick. Hey, Trump, stick with immigration. Stick with this. Stick with that. That's what's gonna affect. But even on the abortion thing, it was kind of a miss. You know, I don't know.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. But here's how I would explain what you're thinking about. In 2016, we were not expecting a candidate like Trump. So everything he said was shocking and amazing and impressive, right? And most of the stuff he was saying was just true. He was just telling the truth, and it just wasn't stuff that people were expecting to hear. Now, when Trump does that, that's sort of his baseline, right? And so everybody expects that. And so the bombastic nature of Trump's rhetoric needs to hit a higher tier in order for people to be impressed, right? People like us. And so he's not hitting that higher tier, but it doesn't mean he's not the same candidate it was in 2016. We're just more used to it.
No,
I think.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to do great, but if he becomes president, but still, like, you can't hold this man back. Like, why do you agree to do a debate like this?
I agree with you. I think he was more reserved than he could have been. There was a debate in 2020 with Biden where Trump went he went too much on the attack and he looked bad. Like, it didn't work out that well because Biden was like much more calm. And so I think that Trump's a little gun shy to do that again.
Yeah, I don't think he should attack her personally. Like, I think that's over with because he was the president, you know, but I think he should be. I don't know. It wasn't Trump. Like, not a person. Don't be person. I mean, he can sometimes, but I think he needed to just go off on certain things that she was saying that was just crap. You know,
it's funny. It's so weird because we have almost the same haircut now, and yet we have slightly different opinions about this debate. We have a different perspective. I felt that Trump won. You felt that Trump lost. I think that's really
I don't think Trump lost. I think I don't think
he just could have done better.
Yeah, and I don't think this debate's going to change anything. Well, maybe slightly towards like undecided voters, maybe slightly towards Kamala, but I don't think it's gonna affect in big enough numbers to change the outcome that's gonna happen.
I think there will be some voters that flip to Trump because of this debate. That's what I believe. We'll see in the next few days. In the meantime, let's read some super chats from you beautiful people. If you want to talk about this, please jump in. That's why we have this show. Jason and I unexpectedly got a little bit too into it because we have a little bit of a different perspective about how the debate went. But let's read some of your super chats here. We got Nick the Enlightened, with Alex Trebek as the picture, which I think is hilarious. He says, in my opinion, this debate was very meh. Yeah, it's exactly what I said. Mm-hmm. Trump didn't do bad, but he didn't do great either. I think this debate will be forgotten in 2 weeks ultimately. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's much better than the debate? My latest Kamala ad parody. Have you seen it, Jason?
Oh, I haven't. I've been so busy. Sorry. You know, I'm usually the first one.
I posted it? Did you even know I posted it?
I did.
You saw it. Oh, you should. It's 1 minute long. Okay. Everybody needs to watch that Trump parody. Share it with your friends because it exposes the truth about Kamala Harris. All right. Eric Wade just jumped in. He says, $20. Thank you, Eric Wade. He says, I'm glad that you watched the debate so that I wouldn't have to. Make America great again.
Let me tell you.
It was a little bit of a torture watching Kamala that long. Florida Sheepdog won $2. He says, the Dems ever had a plan that didn't cost millions? Well, that's the thing. Actually, Florida Sheepdog, I believe, and I've mentioned this many times on the show, every time you hear of like a multi-billion-dollar Democrat plan, they're just embezzling American tax dollars. They're sending it to their friends. Their friends are sending it back to them in kickbacks, other kind of mechanisms to make people money. But it's never just to improve the country, to improve the quality of life of everyday Americans. They're stealing money. That's what I think is going on there. All right.
I wish,
concrete.
there was one point I wish he would have looked at, because Kamala Harris always said, I got a plan for this. I got a plan. I got policies. I got this. I wish he would have turned around and looked at her and says, okay, what's your policies? What's your plans? She would have been like, I mean,
and he didn't actually, as much as I thought he was going to push the whole, you've had 3.5 years to do this. Why didn't you do it? You had 3.5 years to do this.
Yep,
I think that they were really worried about that. And so Kamala was very light on policy and light on saying what she was going to do. A lot of what she did tonight, kind of expected, was just to lie about Trump and say about how Trump's a bad guy.
Exactly.
For all of her rhetoric about all of her rhetoric about Trump's about the past and I'm about the future, she's a lot about the past. She's a lot about Trump's time in office, lying about Trump's time in office. He lost more manufacturing jobs than any president in history. Yeah, I mean, COVID lost the jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't invent COVID. They keep pretending like he invented COVID.
Yeah. If I was Trump, they would have said, okay, do you have a response, Trump? I would have turned around and said, Kamala, tell me your plans. Tell me your policy. Go ahead. And I'm telling you, debate over, Trump wins.
He did ask her one question. I can't remember what it was, but she was stumped. She had no response. It was pretty good. Hot Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company, favorite of the show. Good man. We always love to see you on here. He says, I'm left-handed, and I think Trump won. Very good. Andrea Viola says, what Trump should have asked is, why did Harris lie to the country about Biden's decline, and where has he been since they formed against him? My guess is that they probably had that, in the chamber ready to go, and Trump just forgot to say it because it's such an obvious thing. Like, that's one of the more obvious things. But this is the problem with debate. You get on a stage and you start riffing and you start talking. And I do this all the time on my show. I do this in live stream. Whenever I have like a Newsmax hit that I have to come in and do, I always have like 6 things I want to say, and I only end up getting out 2 of them. And the reason is because you just don't have enough time, and then the conversation goes the wrong way, and you're just kind of like, even when I do my make movies great again thing with Gorka every week on Friday on the radio and on Rumble, I often have a lot of things I want to say about a movie that we've watched, and I will always forget something, and I always regret it. But I always regret, because we have a full hour to do it, so I have plenty of time, right? But it's just you get into conversations with the other person, and then you just miss things. So I think that's what happened there. But you're 100% right, Andrea Viola. He absolutely should have mentioned that. That would have been a killing blow, I think. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. All right.
Oh, but they didn't mention about the assassination, did they?
He mentioned it quickly. No.
Yeah, but like why didn't the announcer, the moderator, say, "Oh, Kamala Harris, what do you think about President Trump attempting assassination?"
No, we all know why.
You have something that
moderators.
If it happened to Kamala, they would have asked that of Trump.
Of course. No, the questions were so loaded in favor of Kamala Harris. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And their favorite thing to say to Trump was, we really have a lot of things to get to, Trump. We really have a lot of things. Like, Trump's like, I need to respond to that. He's like talking. They're like, and they keep interrupting him. Trump. I mean, come on, seriously though. We got all this. We have so much stuff we got to do. Really, we don't have time for you. Stop talking. Why do you keep talking? Oh my God, stop making sense. You're going to win the election. We don't want you to. Kamala, say something. Please say something. And they did cut her off once pretty brutally, which was really funny, actually, because she was like, no, I have something to say. And they're like, off. Trump, go. That was the only good
I did notice the female announcer was going crazy a little in the beginning, and she kind of toned it down. I don't know. I think they told her something because in the beginning she was like very catty, and then after, even my wife mentioned it, my wife was like, "Oh, she's like kind of quiet now." So they might have told her something, but still, that format of debate doesn't work for Trump. Doesn't.
No. And the guy did such a great job of sounding reasonable while being totally unreasonable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying things like, Kamala, tell us exactly why Trump is a serial killer. He would just talk like this perfect.
You know what my wife said? She's like, oh man, he's so good looking. Too bad he's a lefty.
Brutal. All right, John LaLanne, son of the famous Jack LaLanne. Hey, John, good to see you, man. I love seeing you on here. Says, I would have asked Horizontal Harris. Horizontal Harris. I haven't heard that one before. That's amazing. Horizontal Harris about her education at Willie Brown's University. Oh my gosh. Brutal.
But he said
I'm calling that brutal, and I made the parody.
But he said she puts out. So I was like, ooh. You didn't
Trump
get that?
said that
You
in the
didn't hear
debate?
That?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, she said puts out. She puts out.
That's funny. That's funny. I didn't hear that. That's how I'll have to check on that. I didn't hear. Yeah. That's funny, man. I'll check the clip. Andrea Viola again jumps in at $2. She says, "Anarchy is the way forward, and the Fed." Well, I don't know about anarchy, but I always say that if you go too far left, you hit authoritarianism, which is what they say you get when you go right. But that's actually not true. If you go far enough right, what do you get? Smaller and smaller government until you have no government. And that is anarchy, which I think is actually quite dangerous as well, but in a very different way. They need to stop saying that authoritarian is right wing, because it's very much left wing.
It may take anarchy to change things in this country. Anarchy to change things in this country. But that's my black pill.
All right, you nihilist black pill lunatic. You and Andrea Viola should go have coffee sometime. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. Does she live here in Miami, Florida?
Florida Sheepdog 1 jumps in. He says, she will infringe on the First and Second Amendment. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Of course,
there's a clip going around on X where she's saying that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Twitter have lost their privileges, and we need to heavily regulate X, and there's consequences and all this kind of thing. And it was kind of pretty scary authoritarian crap, And she's like, "I have a gun. Tim Walz has a gun. We've all got guns. Meh. We're not anti-Second Amendment, you bitch." Sorry. I get the character. It's kind of fun. Actually, whenever I do that voice, somebody always comments, it's like, "Chris, stop doing that voice." And then I did it the other day for the guy I call Short Round down at the cafe down here. And he goes, "Chris," he calls me Dr. Jones. He goes, "Dr. Jones, never do that again."
Yeah.
It's like, it is funny, but it is very disturbing.
No,
but didn't say that, but that's the general sense. Yeah.
They have their tactic. They have their, it's attack Trump, attack him at his on his personality, on all that crap, on what their lies of attacking him do, like saying this and saying that about him, his character. That's what the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. It's all about attacking his character. And then the other thing is saying what everybody wants to hear. That's their tactic. And of course, going by feelings. It's their typical tactic. And I think that's why I don't give it to Harris, the debate, because I think people see that and they see it now.
Inauthenticity. And tired of that. The scripted inauthenticity.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, here we go again. Here we go again.
I was going to do a video. I don't remember what I'm calling it. I'll take a look just to see if I can get the exact. So I email myself my own ideas so that I remember them. And I want to do a video, a new parody. I'm going to do a couple. Kamala Harris, I'll say anything. Basically, the concept of the parody will be that Kamala Harris will literally say anything to become the next president, to get elected. She'll flip on anything. I think that they use exclusively focus groups and polls. I think that's how they plan Kamala's candidacy, exclusively. I don't think there's any principles at all. You seem like you're preoccupied with the chat, so I'll go on to the next super chat. Half Power Concrete and Simplified Profits.
You made a joke? I'm sorry.
So much.
Why do I always miss your jokes?
Oh, okay. It wasn't a joke. I could tell that your eyes glaze over when you're reading the chat. He says, when she said we are working around the clock to get hostages back, he should have hit her with, how, from Zoom or on the beach? From Zoom on the beach. That's pretty funny. I love it.
Also, when she said about him with the military crap, that he's not a supporter of military, he should have mentioned that they didn't even show up, or they didn't even call the people.
Jason, the problem is she even said that he rejected black applicants to his properties or something like that, which is obviously BS. And he didn't respond to that either, which I thought was the worst one he didn't respond to, because he should have just said, he should have just said, she's just lying. I think he should have said, so you don't fact check her on that? You fact check me on everything that I say that's true? You don't fact check her on something that she says that's absolute slander?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't fact check her?
Exactly.
In real time? I know you have it in the bag for Kamala, but this is getting a little bit ridiculous,
Yeah. And not only that, he could have went off on her about how the Democrats are the real ones dividing the country and making race issues and all that. But you know, I guess you
Yeah,
can't
no, well,
win on that with them.
well, the problem is when Kamala speaks. When Kamala was speaking, I am speaking. When Kamala was speaking, she would say so many things that were wrong. She would attack him on like 10 different points that were like a lie or something that was a twisting of what's going on. That Trump had to correct everything. I mean, that was the game today, wasn't it? In the debate, it was Kamala Harris. I'm going to give him this. I'm going to give him so many lies and so many things that he's got to come back with that he won't be able to
She's
keep
going to give
up.
him.
And that's basically what happened.
The person in her ear. Giving
That's
her.
true. Yeah, her team was scripting this. ABC was also helping her. ABC was also going after Trump in every little detail, and they were like letting her spin, as many little things as she wanted. It was the whole thing was ridiculous. We got Demon Slayer jumping in here. Thank you, Demon Slayer. $2. He says, "Hate speech is on the table. That was not addressed." What does that mean? Hate speech is on the table. I don't understand that. I mean, maybe you're talking about Israel and Palestine. I'm not really sure, but hate speech is a silly term. I don't like the term hate speech. It's sort of like toxic masculinity, right? We name this stream toxic masculinity because it's so absurd that they call masculinity toxic. The whole thing of hate speech is like,
what is it?
Speech can be hateful. Yeah, exactly. Like it's just whatever they don't like, basically, is what I hate the term hate speech. Hate speech.
Absolutely. There's no such thing as hate speech.
There's just speech, and like sometimes it's not something you agree with, and sometimes it's something you agree with. Sometimes it's something that's like vicious and nasty. Sometimes something is pleasant and nice.
And you're either in a place where you're free to speak or not.
All right, let us know what your thoughts are on the debate in our by throwing us a super chat. It doesn't have to be much, but we like to hear what you guys think about it. We started this whole thing off. Now that we have so many people watching, I'll just repeat my intro here. I actually thought that the debate was rather boring. That was my first takeaway. We're getting into the details now, so we're talking about the more exciting bits, the more fun bits, the more interesting stuff. But from from like I say about halfway through, I thought, oh my God, there's not going to be any big moments here, and that was really quite disappointing. I remember ending the whole thing, and I don't think I tweeted this out, but I wanted to tweet on X. This debate was disappointingly boring. That was my chief takeaway. Although I do believe Trump won. I think he beat the moderators. I think he beat Kamala Harris. I think he beat the whole team of people at ABC News that were trying to orchestrate this thing to make Trump lose. I think he won. Excuse me, because who are you trying to beat, right? Or who are you trying to convince, I guess I'm trying to say. You're trying to convince undecided voters. You're trying to convince leftists who maybe don't have TDS, which I think there's probably only 3 left, but trying to convince them. And that was funny, actually, but Jason's lost in the chat, so I'll never get him back now.
Did I miss it again?
Yes, you did.
Blame the chat, Chris. Blame it. It's their fault.
I do. Turn the chat off. Turn the chat off, man. But no, I thought that it was a victory for Trump, hands down, both on policy.
No, come on. Hands down. Come on. No,
hands down. Hands down. Well, I didn't say landslide, but I think hands down victory on 2 points. On 2 points. I think that he won on substance. The substance of his arguments, I think, were excellent. And 2, he won on authenticity. We keep bringing this up during the show. Kamala Harris was obviously scripted. She was obviously phony. She was obviously it was almost like every answer was almost like something just drawn from one of her campaign speeches. Not like the way she said these things was actually almost identical to her campaign speeches. Trump was dynamic. Trump was telling you what he truly believed, and you could see that he was doing that. And that's why I think Trump won easily. I think Trump, if you were to look at this objectively, Trump wins easily. We're looking at this. We discussed this earlier, but Jason and I have a perspective like we want to see Trump at his best. And we think that he was good tonight, but he wasn't his best. And we want to see Kamala fall flat on her face. And Kamala didn't. She was like a competent middle school debater. And so when you have Kamala exceed expectations and you have Trump fall short of expectations, it does look a little bit like maybe Trump lost or it was a tie. But I think if I step back and I look at it objectively, I believe that Trump won, in spite of what you're going to hear on CNN and MSNBC.
The media will spin this. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be Kamala's going to win. The optics are going to be that Kamala won big time.
Of course.
And a lot of gullible Americans are going to believe it. And I think that's going to help her. Like, remember, we're dealing with a system here that is man, they're all in. Like they're willing.
Well, so when Scott Adams
thank you, because I was mumbling there. Thank you for cutting in.
when Scott Adams reacted to the full debate, he said that he believed it was a tie, and therefore Kamala Harris won. And I think I understand what he means by that, which is exactly what you're saying now, which is that if Kamala Harris doesn't lose bigly, as we like to say, that means that the media will be able to spin it in a way to indicate that she won. And it will be believable. So people will believe that. Like a lot of people on the left in the coming days and the next week and so they're going to believe that Kamala Harris won the debate, because that's how they're going to spin it, because she didn't completely collapse on stage. Unfortunately, that's just the way things are, and Trump won, but is it going to be perceived that way? I don't know.
I got a suggestion. Like. Go ahead. Say whatever else you're going to say. I'm not going to say.
All right. Peter Gill has jumped in with $2 and then $1. I think he's trying to type something. If you can find his comments on the chat, Jason, that would be nice, because I think he's not getting him through. G.I. Jose jumped in with $1.99. He says, people are too soft. Trump did well. Facts, not crap. I should just swear on the air, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to be nice in case the kiddies are watching. Look, again, with Kamala, it was actually pretty substance free. But here was the trick for Kamala. Kamala had to navigate her long history of like crazy far left policies, her newfound revelation of more moderate policies, and even Trumpian policies, some of them. Trump should have mentioned how they copied his $35 insulin. They copied his what was the other thing? The child, I don't know. There was a few things that they've copied of Donald Trump's. He should have listed them all. And even the wall, apparently, it's been reported that Kamala Harris is now for the wall. Like, they copy everything that Trump does. I think he should have mentioned that. I think that would have been a home run if he could have remembered the list of things, unlike me. But, of course, I didn't do any debate prep, so I should have probably. Bradford Thompson. Oh, geez. Bradford. What did I do?
Like you said, though, Trump should have said to the announcers very easily, like, she's saying all this stuff. Why aren't you fact checking her? Because everything that came out of her mouth was a lie. Like,
right. Brad, yeah, it was true. It's true. Bradford Thompson jumps in $2. He says the difference: Trump isn't a puppet, and liberals hate that. Yeah. Trump is not a puppet. He's an authentic guy. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if that's going to come across. Yeah, but I love that. I love that. That's like, to me, I love that happened. I love that we got to see that. I feel like I think that's Trump. That Trump can win with that. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Florida Sheepdog jumped in again. Wrote soundbite. They are eating your pets. Yeah, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think that was the line of the night. And the sad thing is, it wasn't really a particularly substantive point. It wasn't something that like destroyed Kamala, but it was a bit funny.
Yeah, but it didn't come across that great. I don't think so. It didn't have the impact that he probably thought it would. Because then again, the moderators killed it. So
yeah, no, they're going to twist it in the media. That's the real.
They basically told the idiot voters of America that, oh, it's fake. That didn't happen. That's not happening. So they're going to believe that.
Right. Exactly. All right, we got another super chat here from Bradford Thompson. Sorry, I got that already.
Somebody saying
we're good.
Somebody saying what's with the interrogation lighting? No, that's not interrogation lighting on Chris. That's God's lighting.
That's God's lighting. Yeah, I have a kind of like a sunlight here, and every once in a while, the clouds go away, and so it becomes like really harsh lighting. But when the clouds are up, it gets a little too dark, so I have to have it on this weird setting. Maybe I should have it on automatic. They're eating your pets. Look,
and absolutely, somebody mentioned something, and absolutely, like duck and goose are good eating. They know what's up. Those Haitians know what's up.
Well, the goose thing isn't. Look, at the end of the day, they're eating the pets thing is to me, it's funnier than it is like a substantive point. It's just a funny thing, right? I think that's why everybody jumped on board. Because if you go on X, what you see is everybody's doing these AI images of, Donald Trump cuddling like puppies and kittens
Yeah.
and and like little ducklings and being like, Donald Trump will protect your pets from the Haitian migrants, And it's just a funny thing, right? So it's a funny thing. Trump jumped on board of it. And I thought that was great. I thought that was like a charming, funny moment. Some people are going to go after him for that. Of course, people who hate Trump, are they going to be able to convince people that was like, a career-ending line? I don't think so. It's something that really won't really make a difference, I don't think. But again, like if you go into the actual substance, if you listen to the full debate, the moments that were, I guess, probably boring for most people, Donald Trump actually presented a lot of good substance and he responded very well. One thing I noticed at the beginning, especially, Kamala could not respond when Trump would say things. So what would happen was they'd say, Kamala, tell us this, your ideas about this policy. She'd blah, blah, BS, BS, BS. And then Trump, she would attack Trump usually. And Trump would come back and he'd be like, no, this is what the real deal is, right? And he would respond to exactly what Kamala Harris said, and then add some more substance, attack Kamala, whatever it might be. And then the moderators would go, okay, now, Kamala, we're going to give you an opportunity to respond to what Trump just said. And she'd go, yeah, I do want to respond to that. Actually, at one point, she actually did say, I do want to respond to that. And that was her giving herself time to try to think of what she was going to say, because she had nothing. She had nothing. And so what did she do? She didn't respond to anything that Trump said. She just said, yeah, I do want to respond to that. And then she goes, but what I also want to say is, and then she completely pivoted, said something completely different, completely irrelevant to what Trump had said. And she presented that as her, retort. And that's the, like, to me, that was so telling. If that can be exposed, if people can actually observe what she did there, they'll realize she knows nothing.
I think some people that are enlightened, do see that. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's your typical politician playbook, and I think a lot of people saw that tonight. That's why I'm saying Trump. I'm leaning towards Trump with a slight victory, because she showed herself as being your typical politician. This is what people are sick of. The other thing I want to mention about Trump. Somebody mentioned in the chat that Trump should have mentioned the tax on unrealized gains. And that there's my issue. Trump did not.
Yeah, that was a big one.
This stuff on her, like it was just, he just, for me, I'm gonna call that, but he just rambled on certain things and it went nowhere.
Well, Jason,
attack her on what she's been saying and doing.
This is just how it happens sometimes when you're trying to be authentic, when you're trying to respond honestly to what's being said. It's difficult sometimes to spin things in the direction you want. He's usually actually pretty good at that. But the moderators, I feel like, really did a great job of consistently pushing the conversation towards something that Kamala is going to be good on.
Okay.
And away from something that's going to hurt her. Yeah.
I agree with you. And this is, I think this is what everybody should take from this debate, especially the Republicans and conservatives, is that stop doing this. Stop agreeing to their stupid debates, man. Start getting them to go on your I'm just trying to look for the word, on your way of doing a debate. I can't figure out the word, but like tell them, rules. Hey, let's do the debate on X. If you don't, do
your
X,
terms, your terms, is that what you're saying?
Our terms, exactly, on Republican terms. Okay. Why always give in to them? Why? Thank you. You saved me. You did. Whenever I get on a show, I always seem to forget freaking everything. I'm words. But anyway,
I always tell them. Whenever I'm at Subway, I always say I forget what the word spinach is. But I don't know what that is. I'm at Subway and I'm like, the green stuff, whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But it's one of those weird Biden moments,
Yeah. But anyway, they should start telling them to go on their terms. Like, why is it always their terms?
Yeah.
Start. No,
I agree.
Don't allow it. It's this
because we both know, we all know that
you have friends, right, Chris? You have friends that know Trump. You have friends that know Trump. Please let them let them know what they're doing wrong.
Why are you doing air quotes? I do have friends that know Trump. What are you
Exactly.
pretending like
Exactly.
they're imaginary or something?
No,
No,
because I'm
like,
saying
okay, look.
I know because I know of a specific one that actually that I've met. So
No, I have multiple friends that know Trump. But look, the problem is they know this. They know everything we're saying right now about they're going into it eyes wide open. And the reason that they're going into it anyway is because they're terrified that they won't get a debate at all. Because I think the debates really favor Trump. Intrinsically, they favor Trump because Trump, again, the most of the things that we mentioned, he's good on substance and he is authentic. And Kamala Harris can't say that about either of those things. She's not good on substance and she's totally inauthentic. So a debate is always going to expose that to some degree. And so they know that going in. And so the Democrats, Kamala Harris's team is always going to be reticent to agree to a debate at all. And so if Trump wants to jump in, he's got to really just, he doesn't have a lot of leverage because he wants to debate. She doesn't. Everybody knows it.
He doesn't need a debate, man. He doesn't need a debate. But you know what he should have started the debate.
But the debates are better for Trump. The debates are better for Trump.
You know what? The first thing he should have
be good for Trump.
Yeah. You know what? The first thing he should have said in the debate, he should have turned around and said and looked around and said, "Where is Biden? Where shouldn't Biden be here? You did not get one single vote. Shouldn't Biden be here? Not
That's
you.
True. That's a
this
good
is
point.
this is an attack on democracy. Why am I debating
He was trying to seem.
Should have opened.
It started out very slow. It started out very much with like these little pawns moving. They were moving all their pawns out first. Nobody's throwing out a knight. Nobody was throwing out.
I know he said it.
It was all pawns.
Yeah, I know he said it, but it didn't have an effect. He should have opened with that.
Yep. He did talk about it. Okay. Honestly present. $2 says, since when does she own a pew pew? Yeah.
Well, she said a little white. She said a little white lie there. It's not her that owns the guns. It's the people around her that's protecting her with AR-15s and all kinds of weapons.
Yeah, she probably doesn't actually have anything.
Technically, I guess she has guns, right?
I don't know what she's talking about. I've never heard her say that before. Maybe she does. I mean, if she does, she is the biggest hypocrite ever because she does want to take away everybody's guns. All right, Peter Gill finally got his question in here. Thank you, Peter Gill. $5 says, Mr. Reagan, Pete here again. Question. Kamala said she supported Biden with Afghanistan withdrawal. Yeah, I thought that was crazy. She actually kind of defended the Afghanistan withdrawal. I'm like, what? And then she, of course, blames Trump for it, which is their line, which is absurd. Trump, I don't think, responded as well as he could have to that, but, whatever, it is what it is. And then Peter says, do y'all think Trump attacked that issue enough? Okay, yeah, sorry, I already responded before I read that bit. Yeah, I don't think Trump responded well to that, but...
Nope, me too.
It is what it is. You can't get every answer like, a kill shot.
Yeah.
I don't think Trump got a lot of kill shots tonight. I wish he had done more. We both do. I still think Trump won the debate. And I do think that Jason, who started out this, this reaction to the debate saying they thought maybe Kamala Harris won, Jason has come around. He thinks that, and it's the authenticity issue that Jason thinks maybe has helped Trump to win. So we've convinced him.
I think that's different. But I do think Kamala may have won some idiotic voters too, so that we're still on the fence. Right, I hope not. Right. But Demon Slayer. Shoot, I lost the damn.
All right, Andrea. Viola
Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer. No, I was saying Demon Slayer wrote her husband is a legal gun owner. There should be no such thing called a legal gun owner.
Yeah, we're all
have
legal
a Second Amendment
owners,
right.
Guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all legal. Yeah.
I'm sure he's
Viola
saying that in sarcasm.
And she says, my house sign says, not the whore in 2024. We love you, Andrea Viola. You are one of our all-time favorites just because of this super chat. This is amazing. I love this. Okay. Mrs. T. Rush, another one of our all-time favorites. Mrs. T. Rush actually sent me a care package once in the mail, which was absolutely delightful. I still remember that, and I still appreciate it. She says, I had to stop watching in the middle. I was screaming too loudly at the TV. Yeah. Jason said the same thing.
Yeah. That was me.
I go, Jason, you have to finish it. It is your job now. And he texts me back. He says, like, that's why I watch as much as I did. He's like,
that's why I hung on. That's why I hung on.
Yeah.
I kept looking at my wife saying, I'm only watching this right now because I have to do this show.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the thing about it is, I think the thing that was so infuriating was the moderators. And that's why I said at the top of the show, I was like, the headline for this show is, the headline should be on the newspaper tomorrow, the moderators were completely biased, right? The moderators had it in for Trump. They went after Trump. They were, they were trying to support Kamala Harris. And it was so obvious and it was so blatant that it almost seemed criminal to me. Like it seemed like the DOJ going after January 6th protesters or going after Donald Trump with the lawfare. It just seemed very unfair. It seemed very unsportsmanlike. It just seemed unjust, I feel like. And I hope that Democrat voters saw that. I don't know whether they did, though. I think it was obvious to us, but it doesn't matter if you're shouting at the refs. It doesn't matter what the sport is. What matters is that your team wins. That's all that matters. My dad always said when I was growing up, we had a team called the Portland Trailblazers in Oregon. I was a big fan of basketball at the time because everybody was when I was growing up. This is the 1980s, I eventually figured out that, like, wait, this is just a bunch of random dudes from other places in the country. They're not from here. I didn't know that. When I was a little kid, I thought all your sports teams had to be like from your area. And when I found out you just recruit from wherever, I'm like, why do I care about these people? It's a bunch of random people from other. I stopped watching sports after that, actually, funnily enough. But when I was a kid, I watched basketball, and we get so frustrated with the refs because the refs have an incentive to support teams that are from bigger cities like LA, New York, whatever. Now, why do they have that incentive? Chicago, because you're going to sell more T-shirts and jerseys and stuff in those areas to more people than you're going to sell to people in Portland, Oregon, who don't really care that much about basketball. So you don't want Portland Trailblazers to win any championships. You don't want them to win, in any season, because then you don't sell as many jerseys. So that's why they want LA to win, New York to win, Chicago to win, whatever, Miami, whatever. So they tried to get these bigger cities to win, and the refs were always really unfair to the Trailblazers. And my dad would always say to me, Chris, you got to beat the refs. And so, again, I think Trump knew this going in. I think it was a lot more blatant and obvious than I was expecting. I thought they were going to be a lot more subtle about it. I knew they were going to be in the bag for Kamala, but it was pretty ridiculous. Like the amount of times they would interrupt Trump and they would be like, okay, enough, dude. Okay, we've heard enough from you. Kamala, please answer what he just said and just destroy him, please. Like, it was ridiculous.
I miss the days of him going off on the moderators. I miss those.
I know, that would have been great, wouldn't it? I don't think he expected them to be quite as obvious as they were either. So he was just trying to, like, I think the plan was just,
you saying that, like,
be good on policy.
But you saying that, like, no, of course you got to expect that. I expected that. Once they announced that the debate was going to be on ABC, I was like, why they?
Well, no, everybody knew they were going to be biased. But the thing is, like what happened with CNN, like, I think that these moderators and these reporters, they have a sort of like conflict, right? Because they want Kamala to win, but they also want to maintain the illusion that they are objective many times. And on CNN, the desire to maintain the illusion of objectivity, that was what won. And with ABC, we did expect their bias to win out, of course, but I don't think anybody expected it to be this bad. Maybe you did, but I didn't expect them to be so obvious about it, because they still have to try to hide that. And they didn't even seem to be trying to hide it. That was the really crazy. The only thing that was hiding their complete lack of objectivity was the tone of voice in which he asked the questions. That was like the only thing that hid the total bias that they had. I know you're reading the chat. You can't respond to what I'm saying.
No. There was a super chat. It's a very good super chat.
All right, let me read the super chat.
It's pretty good.
Okay, all right. Let me jump in. Peter Gill, once again, $10. Thank you so much, Peter Gill. Says, Mr. Reagan / Jason. Pete here one last time. Question. or it's your last time. Don't give up so easily, man. He says, question: did you see Kamala smiling and laughing at the Ukrainian deaths? Well, when the topic was brought up, no, I didn't actually notice that. That
Yeah.
really ticked me off. What say you? Well, yeah, I mean, okay, probably what she was laughing at was trying to create, the perception in the audience that she thought what Trump was saying was ridiculous. Just like that's probably why she was laughing and smiling.
Yep.
But yeah, at the end of the day, let me just say this real quick. At the end of the day, the whole funding of Ukraine, I think, is one giant scam, right? One giant con. I don't think the Biden administration wants that war to end. And the reason they don't want to end is because it's a cash cow for them. They can keep funneling money to their friends, to themselves, and pretending that the money's going to Ukraine. I think a tiny fraction of what we say is going to Ukraine is actually going to Ukraine. I think that money's going to oligarchs, dictators. I think it's going to themselves. I think that they're just all taking American taxpayer money and saying, "Oh, we got to fight the war in Ukraine," ha 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 ha, and then they're just spreading the wealth around to whomever they want. So they don't want it to end, and so I do think that I think the much bigger issue here is that Kamala Harris has blood on her hands, Biden has blood on his hands, all the Democrats, everybody in the deep state, and we need to drain the swamp. We need to cut out the cancer of corruption in Washington, D.C., and only Donald Trump can do that. And I wish he had said that, actually. There's a lot of things we wish Donald Trump had done in this debate because he wasn't as good as he could have been.
This is another moment where he could have got her. He could have just looked at her and said, how much more people do you want to die? How much more blood do you want to spill? And also he should have said, and what he should have also said after that was, and how much money did you make off this war? And
exactly.
But
he did do a good job on the Ukraine-Russia thing. He did do a good job because he basically said, "Look, you went to Ukraine to try to stop the war from happening, and then it started 5 days later." He's like, everything.
But the moderator screwed that up too.
Well, I think when he said everything you said was weak and stupid, I think that was a killer moment. Actually, I think that was a good moment. That was one of the really good things.
Yeah, but the moderator did you actually go see Putin or something like that, and blew that whole thing off. But
I know. They turned to Kamala Harris and actually asked her a question that was a leading question that specifically was an attempt, but she didn't. She was unable to respond effectively. But they basically handed her own answer on a silver platter. They gave her the answer in the question. Can you defend what Trump just said by telling him that you never met with Putin because that wasn't your job? Could you just go ahead and tell him that real quick? You're like feeding her the answers. That's what I'm saying. That they're so obvious,
Yeah, this is why I don't do those debates. But anyway, that other thing that on his point was the facial expression. Like, I don't think that was working for her. All those stupid facial expressions she was doing, I think that was working against her because it didn't look good. By the way, why does Kamala Harris's neck keep getting worse every day, man?
Because she's an old lady.
No, that's not.
This is how you know.
That's not old lady.
This is how you know.
That's not old lady.
This is how you know that Kamala Harris is not black, because she is definitely cracking. Black people know what I mean. All right, 33DLV has jumped in and said, Kamala still has no base. Moderators were biased. She never answered solid questions. She spoke rehearsed coaching, tried to stare Trump down like she was taught, and did not answer if she met Putin. Yeah, I mean, all great points. And actually, I noticed there was a couple of moments that I think would have worked better for her if there was an audience, but it just made her look weird because there was no audience. It's sort of like the I was that little girl line. If there's no audience to cheer that, it doesn't really work well. So these killer lines, I understand, like they sometimes can like really, really land and look great. But when you go, I was that little girl, and then there's just silence afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that was work right.
That was another annoying her thing, making her look like she's some middle class, like, he should said, what are you worth now? Like,
I know. I mean, how much money have you made while being vice president? Which
you haven't worked a real job in your life, and how much are you worth now? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating.
And if you want to know about Kamala Harris's past career and how she got into politics, please watch my most recent parody video. I think you'll have a good laugh. It's what Kamala Harris wants to do for the economy once it goes to crap if she's elected again. Specifically for little girls in America. I highly recommend watching.
Says Blacks
watching
don't
this.
crack. Absolutely.
That's what they say. That's what they say. And yet she's cracking. Explain that, Kamala. That should have been a great. That would have been a great thing for Trump.
Yeah. He was also
so
making
they
clear.
tell me that blacks don't crack, and yet look at Kamala Harris's neck. Obviously not black.
333 DLV also making clear that what he wanted to say, because he messed it up. He said they coached her to stare him down. Yeah, absolutely.
They coached her. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. That's very true. That's very clear. Yeah, thanks for that point, because we haven't mentioned that. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, you could, if you thought about it for half a second about how she was coached for everything, like everything she said, every reaction she had, the whole thing, it was all very rehearsed. It was all very coached. It's all very inauthentic. It's all very phony. And everything Trump did seemed naturalistic and honest. And I think that's what Jason and I have been talking about this whole time. Yeah, maybe there's two headlines in this. Trump's authentic, Kamala is not, right? Maybe that's one headline. And then the other headline is, of course, the moderators had it in for Trump. They were trying to kill him. But I think Trump survived. Not only do I think Trump survives, I do think that Trump really did win. I don't know if it'll be perceived by that like that way by the end of the week, after the the journalists get through with all their spin. The so-called journalists get through with all their spin. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be perceived. We're going to have to watch and see how it goes over the next week.
This is going to be forever. Like, she won the debate. You're going to hear that until election. How she
you're
Trump.
Probably going to hear she won the debate. She won the debate. You're probably going to hear that. I bet, because I haven't seen any of the post-debate analysis. I'll watch it here when we get off the air. But I'm convinced. You're 100% right. I hadn't really thought too much about it until this second, but they are right now. Every news network is saying Kamala won the debate. Kamala won the debate. Kamala won the debate, and we're going to hear that to the end of the election for sure.
Yep.
But
this
is one of those.
You're gonna hear Trump can't debate. Trump is too old. He's senile. He's
well, they're saying that already.
They're gonna make him out like he's Biden. They're gonna try to make this debate look like a disaster like that.
What's weird is that they copy Trump on so much stuff. But a lot of the stuff doesn't make any sense, right? So, like, to say that Donald Trump is like, I've heard very specifically Donald Trump is showing signs of Alzheimer's, right? Which is what we've been saying about Biden for ages. Well, he's not, though, right? And so it doesn't really matter. I don't know how you gaslight people with things that are so obviously not true. It's like, if Trump is president, the sky will turn red, everybody. It'll turn red. It'll totally turn red. And everybody's like, well, I want to believe you because, I love MSNBC and ABC News and all this. But I don't know if the sky's going to turn red. Like, I don't know how they gaslight people with things that are like, that are just not true. Like, you can see with your own eyes, they're not true. All right, Peter Gill jumped in again. Says, all right, Mr. Reagan, here again. See, I told it was your last time. I told you. And he says, this is to the chat and y'all. He says, a lot of the talking points from Kamala reminded me of Hillary in 2015. Am I wrong? Truly, I missed 2015 Trump. He would have demolished her. Thoughts? Yeah, that's kind of Jason's point. You want to respond to that, Jason?
I was going to say, yeah, because they're going by the playbook. It's your typical politician playbook. And both sides played it. Republicans also played it. I think they're starting to realize that doesn't work anymore, the Republicans. But I think the Democrats with Kamala went back to that strategy. So yeah, it how do you say it? It seems familiar. It seems like Hillary Clinton did that because it actually is. It's their playbook, So
yeah, and also she repeated some of the stuff that Biden says, and they've got her on this very sort of like evasive response thing where they don't really want her responding to anything directly, so she just says whatever she wants, and anything that she can, whatever lies she can to try to denigrate Donald Trump, whatever. But again, like I said earlier in the show, I think the reason that we don't think Trump was going after Kamala so hard is that we've become acclimated to the way Trump speaks. I think in 2016 he was a revelation. I don't think anyone had heard Trump talk the way he talked. And so when he was going after like Hillary, everybody was like, holy crap, this guy's telling the truth, and now we kind of expect Trump to tell the truth. And so those truth bombs, they don't hit as hard as they used to. But you are 100% right. I mean, he's still toned it down considerably, and he really should not have. He really should have gone after just like he went after Hillary in 2016.
Yeah. You know what's funny? She starts talking about how he was a felon and he was charged with this, charged with that, and impeached in this, and how they're gonna he's in court to be prosecuted or something like that. And then she talks about how Trump is gonna put everybody in jail, put his political opponents in jail. And like, for me, that's a telling moment, because if you weren't smart, like if you didn't know what was going on, you wouldn't think how the Democrats are actually doing that. Informed, yeah. You wouldn't actually think how the Democrats are actually doing that right now. Like, I don't think half the United States realizes that that's what's going on right now. They're doing it to Trump, you know.
Exactly.
So it's
yeah,
like,
and I think
hold
Trump
on,
actually made. Yeah, go on.
It's like, hold on. No, I didn't say for you to hold on, but I was like, it's like, hold on, wait a minute. You're doing it to the Republic. You're doing it to Trump. Like, wait,
yeah,
that
I think Trump
sense.
Trump had a great moment. It wasn't the best moment, but it was good. When he starts explaining about how they made up these cases, they went after him specifically so that they could say, Trump's a felon, so that they could pretend he's a criminal and all this kind of stuff. I think he explained that relatively well. That's something that I think you and I find boring, because we've heard him talk about that so many times. But I think Democrat voters, they haven't heard that,
Yeah, but I think he should have pushed the fact that they're doing it. Like, make it clear, like, you're doing it. You're doing this to me.
Yeah. Mrs. T. Rush jumped in. She said, I love how she said, I'm the only one on this stage who has prosecuted. Yeah, no duh. She's the only prosecutor there. Like, it's such, I think that line really falls flat at this point. I mean, I think the great thing about this is that every Democrat has heard all of her talking points a million times before. So nothing really stood out. Like, especially when she says stuff that she said a million times before, that's supposed to be like a bombshell thing. But since she's expressed that bombshell thing 10 times before, rehearsed it on stage a million times before, all these people have heard it a million times before. So it's now boring to hear it. These people have not really heard much of what Trump has said, I don't think, because they avoid Trump because they think Trump is evil.
Yeah.
Because they don't listen to him. And so I think everything that has more impact.
Yeah, I get it all the time in X. Like, I'll comment on somebody or that's on that stupid side, and in 1 second they'll block me. It's like, like you can't. I mean, come on. Like, they blind them. They cut themselves off from. They live in a bubble. That's what they do. They live in a bubble.
They live in,
and it's like I'm I'm not listening. No, num.
Yeah. Yes. I think they might actually do that physically in their house when they're on X texting, and they put the phone down and they go, man. Yeah. That's how the left is. It's, a long time ago, I figured out, I think maybe when I was like in high school or college, that conservatives tend to think that leftists are wrong, and leftists tend to think that conservatives are evil. Now, obviously, there are some leftists that are evil as well, but we're talking about the voters right now. And so if you meet a leftist, you're like, let's talk about politics, because I want to explain to you about this and this and this. This is the way I think. This is my perception of it. And Democrats are like, oh, no, get away from you, beast. Oh, you horrible, evil beast. I don't want to become infected with whatever evil you've got.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you think the person is evil and they're contagious, their evil is contagious, you won't want to talk to them. And if you think that the other person is just ignorant and you have some ideas that they haven't heard before, you want to talk to them. So we're like the boy on the playground that has a crush on the girl that's running around trying to get a kiss. And we're all running around in a circle, trying to chase down Democrats to be like, no, you'll agree with me if you listen.
Yeah.
Because Republicans are all about kind of logic and rationality, and Democrats are all about emotion and feeling. And how does it feel? Yeah. And, does it feel right? It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And that was Kamala tonight, by the way, all about feelings. But that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Like, they locked themselves in a bubble, and I'm trying to find the words again. You see,
well, I had a friend in college. This sums up leftist perfectly. I figured out that he was a Republican, essentially. Like, all of his perceptions about reality and the things that he supported and stuff were ideas that were conservative ideas, essentially. But his mom is like a raging leftist, who I've met his mom, and she's a little bit crazy, I love her to death, but she's nuts. And so this guy, he loves his mom. He loves his mom and he loves his dad. And they're both Democrats. And I said to him one day, I go, I don't think you actually are a Democrat, actually. We talk about politics sometimes and you agree with me on everything. I'm like, you're a Republican. You just don't like the term Republican. You just don't like that it is. But I think the sense you get from it. But I think if you voted Republican, you'd be voting more in line with your values, actually. And he goes, yeah, no, I just he actually said these words. He goes, the Democrats are just more my style. I think that sums up the typical Democrat voter. Really, yep. I really think that's why they vote Democrat. It's just more their style. Democrat voters are very irrational people or very low information people who are very easily convinced. I think the Democrat politicians have figured out that they don't really have to convince people they're right.
Yep.
They just have to. Yep. They just have to, in terms of the correct policies. It's not about convincing people that it's not. They don't have to have the right policies on anything. I think that's the Democrat strategy. We don't have to have the correct policies on anything. We just have to be able to trick the 51% of the population who is the most gullible. That's all we have to do, right? We just have to trick the percentage of the population that is the most gullible. We have to get them. So whatever it is we have to say to get that gullible group, because Democrats really don't care about anything. I'm talking about the politicians. The politicians really don't care about anything. What they care about is stealing money. What they care about is staying in power. What they care about is essentially being corrupt and controlling the country. And so they just want to win. That's all they care about. And so they just have to figure out how to get that lowest 51% of, incredulous people, the most gullible people. They just have to get them to vote for them in whatever way they can. That's their whole strategy. And I think to some degree, that's what Kamala was going after today. At the end of the day, I think that she was just trying to keep her head above water. She was just trying to keep from drowning. And Trump really just should have taken her head and put it just slightly under the water and watched her drown. That sounds really violent.
Somebody just said that they want a second debate, the Kamala team. So
really,
Trump may have Trump. Oh, that's what somebody's writing on the chat. I don't know if that's fact, but
if that's true, that is a mistake.
I know they think that they killed it, so they think a second one they can.
Do they?
Put the cherry on top, But I think
maybe Kamala forgot to say something that was like their big killer punch.
I think they're getting cocky. I think they're like, oh, Kamala actually did a good job. Let's do another one. I think Trump should do another one, and on his this time on his terms. And because Trump actually does better
more of his terms.
I think Trump does better always on a second debate. I would
absolutely.
He doesn't know Kamala much, like how she debates and all that stuff. Well, I mean,
it's sort of like boxing. You got to figure out how the distance. You got to figure out where they are before you strike. And I think this was kind of getting his footing, getting his distance. And he never really got a good, knockout punch. But if they do a second debate, Kamala's in trouble.
Well, let's not say it. But do the second debate. Do the second debate, Trump. But make sure you get that thing on X.
No, let's pretend that we think it's a bad idea, and then they'll think it's even more of a good idea.
Horrible idea,
Trump. Yeah. Oh my gosh. She'll destroy you.
She's gonna kill you.
No, stop.
She's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
This will be a disaster. Kamala, don't do this to Trump. Please don't. Oh gosh. All right. I think the hour's up. You got to get some sleep. You got to take care of that kid. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. I do think Trump won. We both think that the media is going to spin it. Democrat voters will think Kamala won. I don't think so. I know that didn't happen. I know Trump defeated her both on points and on authenticity. Jason here agrees with me. But again, the media is the media. They're going to spin it. So we'll see how it goes then in the coming weeks. Man, if they do have another debate, I am here for it. I cannot wait. All right, that's it for us. And remember, it is not that the liberal fronts are ignorant. It's just they know so much. That is not so.